Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Canine Connection podcast. Today, Laurie and I are going to talk about acclimation and warm up. I find that a lot of my students will be training their dogs at home and in training buildings. And then I'm like, you really need to get out and about so your dog learns to work around distractions. And they go somewhere and they take their dog out of the car and they start training the dog. And then they're like, it was a disaster. And I said, well, did you give your dog time to acclimate to the environment? They're like, what? So the dogs, well, first of all, humans are very unaware. So when we go somewhere new, like when you pull into a parking lot and get out of the car, we do a ton of things habitually, right? Like we look around, we
Mhm.
listen, right? If something, like if I pull in the McDonald's parking lot, I smell the hamburgers, right? I'm looking around and noting what people are there, what cars are there. Is it busy? Is it loud? Is it quiet? Like my brain takes in all that data and processes it and acts accordingly, right? Well, our dogs need to do the same thing. Now we get there and we know why we're there. I'm in the Lowe's parking lot. Now I've been in a Lowe's parking lot many times before. I understand that it's relatively safe as long as I keep an eye out for cars and I know why I'm there and I know what I want to do there, etc. My dog gets out of the car. That's all it knows. I'm out of the car. I'm in a new location. That's it. It's in a complete and utter vacuum, right?
Mhm.
It could be on a walk. It could be just there to hang out. It doesn't know what it's doing or why, right? All it knows is I put a leash on it. I took it out of the car. Now, how the heck is my dog supposed to know that I expect it now to pay attention to me and start doing whatever competition task I'm doing, right? And if you do more than one sport, how in the world does your dog even know what sport it's doing?
Right.
So we have to give the dog an opportunity. So we have to, first of all, have some sort of a routine or a cue that says to the dog, we're not here just to hang out, right? We're here to do some obedience, rally, nose work, whatever. And I have to establish a routine for that. So if
Mhm.
I'm going to do obedience, I'm going to take my dog, I'm going to potty my dog, and I'm going to do something that's going to let my dog know that's on the table, right? And then I have to give my dog time to take in the environment for as long as this dog needs until the dog is good, is like, okay, I am now comfortable. I understand. I've taken it all in. I've processed it all. I can now tune that out and tune in to you and what you're asking me to do, whatever that task is.
Yeah, and I think what we need to just make a note of with that piece is like when you talked about like we get out of the parking lot, we know we're at Lowe's, we know what we're doing, we know blah blah blah, we've been there before. That the dog and even though you could even have brought your dog to that parking lot before at Lowe's, but it's not the same every time you take them somewhere, even if it's the same place, even in your own training building, it's not the same each time. There's going to be whatever environmental factors have changed in that given time and place when you've gone there. Different people, different noises, different sounds, different smells, because the dogs don't really generalize that well. So depending on the dog's level, sometimes, you know, a month ago when you took your dog to Lowe's and it was just a really quiet Tuesday morning where not much was going on, and your dog got out of the car, your acclimation didn't take that long. Your dog was able to engage with you pretty quickly, but then you go 2 weeks later on a Saturday afternoon and it's crazy busy. kids are piling out of cars, a balloon floats in the air, a car backfire. Like, it could just be a totally different scenario. And your dog may take triple time to acclimate because of that. Like, that's just a worthy thing to note. Also, when your dogs get out of the car, like Petra said, like, we get out of the car, we know where we're there, we know, we kind of just look around quick. But the dogs do, like, animals get out of the animals when they go to any new place, their first instinct is they kind of kick into that instinctive survival mode where their first thing really is, are they safe? Right. I
Right.
think that's a big thing to note. Like, they get out of the car and they need to check, they need to smell, they need to look to make sure that they're not going to get eaten and die or whatever it is. I think that's definitely worthy of noting.
Yeah, that's super important. And it also depends on the dog, right? Like maybe the dog is just mentally tired. Maybe the
Mhm.
dog's not feeling great. Maybe the dog's been training a lot, or maybe you've been going to a lot of different places and the dog's brain's like a little like, oh gosh, I can't quite. And then
Yeah.
sometimes who the heck even knows, right? Like I remember my friend and my training partner and I, we met at a PetSmart one day. We'd gone to this PetSmart many times before, and our plan was to go into the PetSmart. And I got my first dog out of the car, and I was just gonna do a couple things in the parking lot because I needed more space. Dog, like, couldn't even work. Couldn't
Mm.
even, like, warm the dog up, right? I'm like, "What is happening? Alright, maybe my dog's just having an off day." He gets his dog out, same thing. I get my other dog out, same thing. Needless to say, we never made it inside the PetSmart, right? We were stuck in that parking lot and, we basically dialed down our expectations and we're like, "All right, I just gotta get, like, a little bit of work out of my dog."
Mhm.
And that's it. So I I don't know why that day. I have no idea. I didn't know then. I didn't even really make myself too crazy about it. I just said, "All right, you know what? Who knows why? We're just going to deal with it." And did the best we could and we left, right? And
Mm.
like I don't know what happened. Now, one thing I will say in hindsight, and something I've been really seeing and working on with a lot of my students is that we tend to not give our dogs enough time
Mhm.
to acclimate enough for the dog, right? So my routine is I take my dog out of the car, I potty them. Then I put my dog in a with me, which means my dog's basically allowed to walk next to me because I have to do something that I can do at a trial. At a trial, my dog's not going to be dangling at the end of a 6-foot leash because that's not safe. So my dog's going to be next to me, right? Um, it doesn't have to look at me. We're not healing. It can look around, but it can't dart off, right? Like
Yeah.
zesty, bolt over there because it thinks it sees a piece of food on the ground. No, it's a leaf, but whatever. You have to stay with me. And then we just walk around. Some people stand, some dogs that works fine. A lot of dogs standing is too static.
Yeah.
So I find that motion is better. And I walk around and around and around and give my dog enough time to look. The problem is in the past is I've said, "Oh, my dog looks ready now," or I
Mhm.
think that's enough time, and then we'll ask our dogs to work. And if it's not enough time, then we're asking our dogs to work and the work is not going to be optimal. And we may spend a fair amount of time saying to the dog, "Hey, pay attention," or "leave that," or kind of struggling to get full engagement.
Yep.
And
I think
part of that is just, impatience. Part of that is because, we got things to do, people to see, and places to go.
Mhm.
Um, And part of that is just like it's really kind of uncomfortable and boring and on some weird level kind of annoying to walk around and around and around and around and the dog not check in, there's this human part of us that's like, "Dude,
Yeah, let's
hello?"
go. Yeah. Yeah, that's a big one for sure, but I think what happens is people go in with an expectation, um, and that's, like, I think pretty common that we put an expectation on how it's gonna go and how it's gonna look, and there's just times where, like you said, when you guys went to the PetSmart, like, it just totally did not go as planned like you thought, and that's when we, because we have these expectations and the picture in our head, then that's when we start to get that frustration and stuff, and like I said, like, it could be, like, your dog like, I could have my seasoned dog and go to wherever and, um, what for whatever freaking reason, like, it could just be that the dog is having a really hard time acclimating to that environment and being engaged. In fact, a good example would be last year when I went out to the NOC. We rented a place to go train a couple days before, and when we walked in, it was a building with really low ceilings that we were going to go train in the inside. It was dark. It was actually not very clean, and Ever couldn't work in there. Like, for whatever reason, she was just, like, having such a hard time with it. I tried and tried. I could feel myself, like, starting to fucking panic. I'm like, "Oh my god." Like, we're gonna be in the NOC in a day or 2, and my dog won't work. But I was like, "No, no, no, it's okay. Like, it is what it is. It's gotta be something going on with this particular environment." And sure enough, like, I got in the car. I just put her away because I was like, "I'm not gonna dig a hole." I packed up my stuff. We left. I'm driving back, and I'm trying to just be in my head like, "It's all right. It's all right. It's all right." And then that night, I just went out to a parking lot and was like, "I'm just gonna test a couple things to make sure that we're not fucked." And she was totally fine. She was totally fine. So
Yeah,
that's a really good example because she couldn't work. She couldn't engage. It was really hard for her.
and, like, we have to understand too, like, they're animals, right? Like, I
Yeah.
say this all the time. They process the world differently. I mean, will go back always to my yard. Like, what's Zesty doing right now on the patio with me? He's staring out my gate, right? He's watching intently. He's listening. His ears are going back, forth, left, right, center, right?
Yeah.
And he's sniffing. Like, he's not just sitting there gazing
Thinking
into the
about things.
sky, like, or whatever humans do. Like, I don't even know. Sometimes I just stare into, like, the woods, or I stare at my flowers. I'm like, "Oh, aren't they pretty?" I don't think he's doing that. Right?
So,
Um, that's how they process the world.
yeah.
They orient to motion, they orient to sound, like they're filtering everything in and out, right? In a way that's meaningful to them as animals, not what's meaningful to us, like, "Oh, we want you to do this task." Like, the dog has to kinda get, filter through all that. And
Mhm.
we have to give them that opportunity. What I find is if we wait long enough, even if that's painfully long, I mean, something that really hit home to me was in a podcast that Denise Fenzi had done. And she said something about like standing somewhere and waiting like 20 minutes for her dog to
Mhm.
acclimate. And I
Mhm.
was like, wow, like that's a long time. And I
Yeah.
thought about it and I'm like, no one waits 20 minutes. Maybe that's a problem. Now, maybe every dog is not going to take 20 minutes, but if it takes your dog that long, are you waiting that long? Probably not. Right. Um, and what I'm finding is when my students wait long enough, and when I wait long enough, because I wait longer now for Zesty, Zaina dials right in because she just could care less about environment, right?
Yeah.
But that's who she is. That's uncharacteristic. She's the only one of my dogs that's ever been like that, right? Um, she's just a different egg. Most dogs need more time. And when we
Yeah.
give them that extra time, so much conflict goes away,
Yeah.
right? Like, my one training partner yesterday, we met at Lowe's, right? And we're walking around. And again, I feel it like it's innate in me because I am someone that's always on the go, always got things to do, always
Right.
like on to the next thing, on to the next thing. So he's walking around and walking around, and I feel that thing where I'm like, ugh, come
Yeah.
on. And I'm like, and now I note it and I go, ah, interesting. Like, see, this is where, and then I see it on his face, right? When he wants, I can see the moment he wants to go like, "All right," to his dog, like, "Let's go already," right? And I looked at him, I go, "Don't do it." And he starts laughing because he knew what I knew,
Yeah.
right?
Right. Right. Right.
And I'm like, "Just keep walking because it is so uncomfortable." And
It
then
is.
right? But this was what was great because the reason I'm making him do this is because there's so much conflict of him having to nag the dog. "Leave it up here," and then the dog looks up, and then, "Leave it up here," and I was like,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I'm like, "Oh my god, dog, like, this dog's well trained, like,
Yeah.
come on."
Right.
So we waited, and finally the dog starts checking in, and then we're like, "Yes," and then we give him another chance because just because you checked in doesn't mean you're fully
Yep.
ready.
Yep.
So then we walked around more. Guess what? Dog wasn't fully ready, right? And I could see him getting twitchy. Like I looked at him, don't do it. Just
Right.
wait. Right.
Right.
So now we have to wait again. Oh my God. I thought the dog was finally ready. It's not. Right. Anyway, long story short, dog's finally really ready. And guess what? We start working the dog. Dog doesn't look away. There's no conflict. Dog's
Yeah.
giving him enormous effort. Dog did like unbelievable work. Like, literally we're doing command discrimination. So the dog's sitting there, he's walking away. This person with a cart comes by because we're in an aisle, like literally like, I don't know, 6 inches pushing the cart next to the dog. Dog's perfectly fine. Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, because we waited long enough and the dog had fully let go of the environment and the dog's brain had fully shifted into like, okay, I
Yeah.
can now give you 100% of my
Yeah.
attention and effort.
Yeah. Yeah, which is I think I think that's a really good example because I think people um probably a lot of people who will be listening to this will want to kind of know or ask the question of like, well, how do I know when it's time? Like what does that look like? Right. And I think that's you need to know your dog. You need to be able to read your dog. Right. You need to really be able to read when your dog is able to give you full engagement, right? And that means like what you just said, like the dog might check in with you and it might look like you've got it, but you do need to wait because you want to make sure that they can give you that duration of engagement, not just a check in and then they need to go check the environment again. This was a big thing I had to do with Stormy this past weekend because a lot of people know this, that she was very, very environmentally sensitive, particular to men and really like public places with just people walking around. Doorways were really weird for her. People coming in and out of doorways for some reason, like whatever it was, that like really freaked her out. So I actually took her this past weekend to show at a place she had never ever been. Um, so I knew going in that she was definitely going to need lots of time for acclimation and that I was going to have to just eventually just be able to read whether or not she was actually going to be able to show. Like I was really ready to just scratch her entry if I knew she wouldn't be able to handle it. So I only showed her on Sunday out of the 2 days. So I brought, we were there Saturday. I took her out. We did tons of acclimation, and literally like I took her out 3 or 4 times in between, like throughout the day, and I never got full engagement from her. Like she still needed to like look into the environment. So going in Sunday morning, I still wasn't 100% sure I was going to show her. Um, but when I went in Sunday morning, I got there super fucking early, like first one there, got her in the building, did my acclimation, full engagement, no problem. She was happy, she was offering, she was getting vocal, which is what she tends to do because she's getting really excited. Um, her arousal was up, she wanted to work, and I was like, "Okay, she's good." But then as more and more people started to filter into the building, the day's starting to get busy,
Mhm.
people are coming in, I knew that was gonna be a shift change for her, and I wanted to make sure she could still, so I had to acclimate her again, right? My class started at
Mhm.
8:55, so I'm pulling her out again, knowing purposely people are coming in and out of the door, the bathroom door swinging open, I knew that was gonna be hard for her. Brought her out, and she definitely did some looking. It took a little bit longer to acclimate her, but then she totally dialed in. Again, she gave me the same thing eventually as she did first thing in the morning when the building was pretty empty. And that's when I knew, she was definitely engaged. She was ready to work. She was ready to handle the environment and give me 100% engagement and focus. So, that was a big thing for her.
Yeah, and I think people don't, well, so we should go, you made a really good point, like, what does it look like, right?
Yeah,
Because what I see happen a lot is, handlers walking the dog around or standing, whatever. Dog looks at them for a split second and they go, "Yes!" And then they give them a cookie and then they're like, "Okay, let's go." Right?
yeah, yeah,
But like if first of all, I want my dog to look at me for more than a second,
yeah,
for for several seconds, like with intensity. And then I might go, "Good dog," or "Yes." Maybe I'll reinforce them. Then do they check immediately back in again and look at me with intensity, or do they immediately go back to looking at the environment? Guess what?
mhm,
If they do that, they're not ready,
right,
right? Um, do they walk around and do I start say, "Oh, I think you're ready," and I start warming my dog up and my dog keeps disengaging and looking around, guess what? I'm aborting because my dog is not ready, right? If I find that I'm saying to my dog, "Hey, look over here, look over here, look over here," guess what? I'm nagging. My
mm,
dog is not ready, right?
yep,
My dog is not giving me full engagement. So it may look like my dog might think it's ready. My dog might try, and then I might go, "All right, let's go." And then the dog can go, "Ah, yeah, I can't yet." Right? And
yep,
we have to respect that because if we don't respect that, first of all, it's infringing on the relationship. But second of all, you're not getting 100% out of your dog. And then you're going to be frustrated and you're going to be nagging the dog, and neither of you are going to be having fun. It's not worth it.
yeah,
Right.
and that this weekend was stormy, like, that was a big thing, like, I had to put that in my head. I paid my entry fee, I'm there with her, hoping she's entered in novice, I'm hoping to this was her last leg, so of course I'm like, I wanna just get her title and all that's on the plate, right? But in my head, I prepared myself mentally, like, if she can't acclimate, if she can't handle the environment and work and give me what I need for her to be successful and most importantly, comfortable working in that environment,
Hmm.
I was absolutely ready to just bag it and that would have been fine, right? And that's the hard part because that's where that agenda comes in. Like, and I hear that, like, that I think people always say that, like, they're like, "Oh, what a waste of an entry fee." Like, but it's really like you gotta be willing to, whether you're going to train in a parking lot, in a new training place, or even at a trial, like, at any given moment, like, I'm reading my dog's well-being mentally and physically come first and foremost before my own agenda and goals, right? That's gotta be really
Mhm.
put out there because it's the longevity too of my dog's career, like, I want her to have good experiences everywhere I train, especially at a trial venue, that's just really important to me.
And the reality is, you're not gonna get the performance you want.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
So, if your dog is not fully acclimated, if your dog isn't able to let go of the environment and focus 100% on you, then guess what? You're not gonna be happy with the performance anyway.
Right.
It's never gonna be what you want. Like, you can't push through that, you can't force that. Like, it never works. You're gonna get a dog that even if your dog is well trained and obedient, right? And you say, let go of the environment, and dog's like, or you say, don't look, and the dog says, fine, I'm not looking. That does not mean their attention isn't split, right?
Right.
They're either gonna be still distracted, like Zaina has the ability to stare right into my eyeballs and be fully thinking about something that's going on in the environment, right? Like, she did that the other day. She's so funny. Like, right as I'm getting ready to go in the ring, chaos erupts in the rally ring, and when I say chaos, I'm talking about, look, I'm not throwing shade on anyone, but there should be a volume limit, right? Like, "Dog! Dog! Ah!" And she's like, "What?" She thinks that's so fascinating. She's like, "What is happening over there?" And I look at her and I go, "Don't do it," because literally they're calling my number, right? So she's staring into my eyeballs, but both ears are pinned to the back of her head. And I know that 99.9% of her brain power at that moment is on the rally ring and
Yeah.
not on me, right? So now, obviously, I didn't have an option. I had to go in the ring. But my point is, like, can be in that moment, she's being obedient and doing what she is quote unquote supposed to do. But I do not have her full attention,
Right.
right? So that's not optimal. You know? And and that's not what we want, right? In training or in the ring. So, ideally, that didn't happen right before we went in the ring, and I, do whatever I need to do to get her off that thing in the environment and back on to the task at hand. Right?
Right.
And that's what we often don't give our dogs the opportunity to do. And then it negatively impacts their work. And
Yeah.
then we're frustrated and we're annoyed and we're disappointed, or we're like, I don't understand. We're confused. And really, the dog just didn't have enough time. And I think, like you mentioned about reading the dog, all this has to be established in training, right?
Yeah.
In training is where you need to learn to read your dog because they're all going to be different. How much acclimation does this dog need? What does this dog look like when it's not ready? What does this dog look like when it is ready? And you determine that by the work. And maybe you'll make a mistake. Oh, I thought they were ready, but boy, that training session was kind of a disaster. Maybe I should have waited longer. All right, next time, let me wait longer, right? Was it better? There's a lot of experimentation that has to go into that, and they change, right? A green dog like Stormy is typically going to require way more acclimation. What you described is pretty typical for all of my novice dogs,
Yeah.
where I take them out, acclimate, they're not ready, put them away. Wait 15 minutes, take them out again, acclimate, not ready. Wait a half hour, take them out again, acclimate. That's very common.
Yeah.
right? Um, that's not at all unusual. Take a more seasoned dog, maybe they acclimate quickly, maybe in general they tend to acclimate more quickly, but you can never assume because like you said, certain environment, certain day,
Yep.
it could be totally different,
Yep.
right? And we have to understand that they are living, breathing, feeling beings,
Right.
right? And just like us, like it just makes me crazy. Like people come in, they'll go, "Yeah, I messed that up," or "Yeah, I'm not on my game," or "Yeah, whatever excuse." Okay, that's great and that's valid. We're human. We vary. Well, why is that not okay for the dogs? It, it's the
Right. Right.
same. Like,
Right.
maybe they're tired, maybe they're not feeling good, maybe who knows what on any
Right.
maybe for whatever reason, there's something in the environment that we don't see, that we don't hear, that we don't smell, that is making them worried, nervous, uncomfortable, super curious,
Yep.
super interesting. Just because we don't see it, smell it, hear it, understand it, does not mean that that is not having an impact on the animal.
Yep. 100%. 100%. And another thing to know alongside that is, there has to be along the way the training put in, like the development of the engagement between you and your dog, right? So like in all reality, if you don't have engagement in a sterile environment or a super comfortable environment with zero to minimal distractions like your house, you can't expect the dog to go to a new place, especially like a trial environment, and be able to work under those conditions with any sort of engagement. Like that's got to be said too, because I think that's a big gap that happens is, which is a whole engagement series we need to do. We talked about doing. But that's something to be said, like if you can't get engagement in a really low key minimal distraction place, like how can you expect your dog to engage in a more distracting place, a harder venue?
Well, and if you do have good engagement at home, like I may have great engagement at home. When I take my dog to a new place, especially a green dog, like I do not expect them to work there like they do at home. My
Exactly.
expectation is if I can get a tiny little bit of engagement for like a minute,
Right.
I'm
Yeah.
good and I'm out
Yeah.
because that has to be built up. Like what we're asking our dogs to do is focus intently on a task for a sustained amount of time in a very distracting environment and tune that all out. That
Yeah.
is hard for humans. It is incredibly hard for animals, right? And it's a skill that they have to learn and build and grow and develop over time. And
Right.
people go there and they expect the dog to work just like at home. And that's completely unrealistic. Like, that's not at all. I can't tell you how many times I go to places with green dogs and, it might take me 20 minutes, half an hour one way, and the amount of work I might get might literally be a few minutes, and I'm
Yeah.
good with that,
Yeah.
right? Like, and if it's too hard, you need to move somewhere a little easier. Like, we have to be realistic and fair and understand what we're asking them to do and respect that, okay, if you can't do it, then that means it's too hard. It doesn't matter what I think. It matters what the dog thinks. It matters what the dog's experiencing, not what we think or what we're experiencing, right?
Right. Right.
Um and yeah, it's something that you need to work on and practice all the time for months and years. I'm working on it for years before I even think about doing it expecting my dog to do it at a trial.
Right.
And there is also benefit to going to trials. Like if you have another dog entered, you should be working your on acclimation with your green dog there. If not, you should be going to trials if you're not entered and just work on acclimating your dog there because it's a unique environment with lots of dogs, lots of people, sounds, stress in the air, right?
Yeah.
And your dog has to learn it has to become comfortable with
Right.
that.
Right. Yeah. That's important, and we do, like, we that's when we get puppies, the puppies go everywhere with us because we start acclimating them to those kinds of environments really early and working on that and, along with their engagement and, yeah, they go everywhere with us for sure.
Yeah, so I think the key is A, we need to establish a routine. We
Yeah.
need to do that when you go to another all the time, like because the routine is also it's information, right? It tells
Yeah.
the dog this is what we're doing. Like when I like the other day I went to the Home Depot parking lot, which my dogs are used to going to places like that to do obedience. Well, guess what? I was doing nose work. So, how does my dog know, right? Or if I go to a park to do nose work and my dogs run there off leash, how the hell does my dog how can I expect my dog to do nose work and not think it's like here
Yeah.
to run around
Right.
like a lunatic, right?
Right.
So I have to have a very clear routine because that routine is information. That routine says to my dog, this is what we're doing. So my dog can then go, oh, okay, got it. I understand. Right. It could be the leash you put on, it could be, kind of like what you do coming out of the car, the sequence of events you have to be super mindful of that because it's information and our
Yeah.
dogs rely heavily on that because absent that information, you're making a whole hell of a lot of assumptions. And the
Yeah.
poor animal is like in the dark. It does not know, you know? And that's on us. That's very, very, very important. Um, I remember Tyler, I used to do field work with him. And I remember the first time, cause look, I didn't know what the hell I was doing. So I go to this outdoor obedience trial. I take him out of the car and he goes, field work. And I go, oh shit, because I didn't know. I didn't have a plan. I didn't think I didn't know. So I
Right.
was like panic mode. Oh God, now what do I do? Right. So took me a long time, got his head on straight, whatever. But boy, was that a lesson. I was like, okay, next time you enter an outdoor show, maybe you better have a plan and maybe you better put some things in place so your dog knows which thing we're actually doing. Right.
Right.
Lesson learned. The hard way, right?
Poor dogs. These poor dogs.
Poor
Jesus.
dogs. But we have to look at it from their viewpoint, right? They are in a vacuum.
Yeah.
The only thing they have to go on is context and cues. And if the context says one thing and we don't give them any information saying, no, 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 it's not that, it's this other thing, well, we can't really get, upset with the dog when the dog's like, I don't know what we're doing. Right. Or
Right.
I think we're doing this. And you're like, no, 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 we're doing that.
Right. Yep. Yep.
So we didn't even get to warm up, which is perfectly fine because we can just do that completely separately. But
Yeah.
I think the acclimation piece in and of itself is huge.
Yeah.
And like I said, lately, especially, and really having my students spend more time on it and saying, no, 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 no. Like, don't ask your dog to start working. Wait for your dog to tell you they're ready to start. That shift has had everyone waiting way longer than they usually do, but the results are pretty spectacular, and they're all seeing that, and then that makes them willing to wait
Yeah,
that length of time because they're like,
definitely.
"Oh, I get it. It's totally worth it." Like, yeah, no one enjoys standing around or walking in circles
True. Oh god.
any length of time,
Ugh.
but it's worth it, and yeah, how we get them to start, that we'll talk about that at some point in, like, an engagement series, but,
Yeah, definitely.
yeah, give your dog enough time
Yep,
to get acclimated and give them a routine so they know what the heck is happening.
that's right. That's right. Ah, okay, good. That was good.
Alright, thanks everybody. Happy
Thank
training.
you. Bye.
Bye.